And we are live.
Welcome everybody to Scott's Commentary. This is another week where we're going to be talking about several issues that are facing us today. And thank you. Listen, do me a favor right now. Begin to let me know who all is here. Welcoming everyone in to Scott's Commentary. Thank you for joining us. I'm so happy to have Pastor Lee with us also. Pastor Lee, how you doing?
I am doing well, Bishop. How are you?
I am good. I am good by the grace of God. God has been good to us, and we're going to have a wonderful and warm conversation today. And also, waiting for him to come back. But Pastor Battle, it's good to have you with us today. How are you today?
Good to be here. I'm doing
And
well. How are you all doing?
we're good.
Good.
We're good. We're excited about today's conversation and talk, and we're going to talk about the church in some kind of way. Talk about the church in the community, and so we want to get after it today. Also, again, begin to do me a favor. Everybody, just share with me. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now.
Myself as well,
Yeah,
Bishop.
Pass the battle. If you could just share with your friends and let them know that we are online. If you go to, let's see, yeah, it's on the Lively Stone Church, Lively Stone Church page, and we're going to. I can't. I got to learn how to manage my phone. Let's do that. I think I'm good.
All right, I just shared it.
I'm good. I'm good. Pass the battle. You made that share. Um, Hey, everybody, again, share with it. But I need to know who you are. Let me know that you're here so that I can see you. See you. Thank you for being with us. But today is an exciting conversation. Everybody, we want to talk about what's going on in society right now. We want to talk about it in a couple of ways. We want to talk about it, how it's impacting our community, specifically the African American community and probably the Latino community. Thank you, Maria, for being with us. I'm looking to hear a lot from you. I think you can benefit from that. Brother Roberts, good to have you with us. Alfonso, great. Thank you for everything. But listen, today we're going to be talking about the vaccine. The COVID vaccine has been released, and we want to talk about the church and the vaccine. The church and the vaccine. One of the interesting things that I have noted since Corona virus have gone out, the African American and Latino groups have been the most impacted by this in the area of deaths. It's kind of an interesting statistics. I really don't have the statistics of just how many Chicago were black. 42% of the blacks of in Illinois altogether was black. In Michigan, 40% of the deaths are black. And here's an astonishing number in Wisconsin. 81% of the people who've died from this coronavirus, according to this report, have been black. This report was given out early in the year, and these numbers have gone up since then. We know for a fact that there was a disproportionate effect of the COVID virus in the African American and Latino community. Some of it is because the healthcare in America does not is not representative of the type of care that's needed to treat us. And so therefore we have a lot of African American people that don't go to doctors and don't get checkups. We have a lot of people that are just in the church. And Pastor Battle, we have to talk about this because in the church we just say, don't go to the doctor. The Lord is going to heal you, and you go and you start making those home remedy portions that may end up blowing up in your house, but you drink it anyway. I know the funny thing in our family, my mom was she was the resident doctor of our family, And every time you would get sick, she would say, get some apple cider vinegar. And subsequently, something was wrong with that logic when my foot was hurting. She said, get some apple cider vinegar. I'm like, wait a minute. Apple cider vinegar works for everything, Mom? Come on now. And so some people just believe in certain things, and we understand the acidic properties of apple cider vinegar, but there is some other things that are needed in order for us to be healed. So we want to talk about this vaccine. Should we take it? Should we not take it? And the whys and the do's and stuff like that. Pastor Battle, talk to me. How do your people? Have you heard from them? Have they asked you whether or not we should take it or not? What are you seeing on that? You, I can't.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, there
I
you
said
go.
I will. Can you hear me now? I said I'll preface everything, of course, by acknowledging the fact that I'm not a doctor, and I hold no medical degree, and I'm certainly not qualified to give medical advice. But having said all that, I think that right now things are a little bit too early to judge whether or not this vaccine is going to do what they say it's going to do. Hopefully, it will uh, help secure and safeguard people from catching the virus, and the clinical trials have been pretty good in terms of the numbers and the effectiveness of the vaccine. But of course, we're all kind of waiting to see whether or not there are any side effects from the vaccine. Whether or not people should take it. And my philosophy as a pastor is that that's something that people will have to decide and make that judgment call for themselves. I can speak for me personally. I'm not going to rush out to be the first person to be injected with this vaccine. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be the second or even part of the third wave. I think with me, I'll take a little time to see how it interacts with people and whether or not it is safe and effective. And if it proves to be safe and effective, then I'll do it.
Well, I hear a lot of people saying that they don't want to go, and I know Deacon Jones is expressing that fact right now, saying we need more data before they can make a decision. But here's a couple things that we do know. Number one, based on the sample group that has been done right now, that the Pfizer vaccine is 90, I think 98% effective, something like that. The Moderna vaccine, which is not out yet, they're looking to vote on that today, is going to be about 94% effective. And what they're saying is that it's 94% chance to keep you, number one, from having bad symptoms, and that the viral load for the COVID virus getting to the point where it's impacting you in such a negative way where you cannot function. Number two, the report just came out today that they believe that, at least with the Moderna vaccine, that it's actually will keep you from being infectious to someone else if you do so happen to catch um, the the virus. So a couple of things. Yes, it's supposed to protect you against the virus, but if you do get the virus, it's supposed to reduce the effects of the virus in your system. And then with the Moderna virus, they're saying now um, that it will actually help you in not being infectious to other people. The other thing they're saying about the vaccine is that right now the only effects that it has had is with those who suffer with allergies and having bad allergies. They've seen some people have allergic reactions in that wise. So, understanding that the African American community has all of these pre-existing conditions. Matter of fact, I've heard members that say, I am not coming back to church because I got pre-existing conditions. And I have one person says, I was born with a pre-existing condition when I was born black. So I am not staying. I'm not going out. So everyone keep talking about these pre-existing conditions, but when they give us a chance to activate ourselves and help ourselves with it, then we're saying we're the last to take it. So it's like, do we really want help or do we not want help? Pastor Lee, what say you?
I don't want no help. I don't want no help. Just, that's just my personal belief. My personal belief is if it proves effective, then I don't see a problem not to take it. But here's my trepidation. My trepidation is it's too new for us to actually know the long term effects. Like you can't tell me the long term effects of a virus that hasn't been around more than 5 years, more than 2 years. So tell me, okay, well, you get this vaccine and the long term effects. There are no long term effects. Well, how have you measured that? Usually, it takes vaccines um, 2 to 3 years to get all the testing and all the approvals in order to actually get it FDA approved. Well, it hasn't been 2 to 3 years, but we're pushing out a vaccine. So um, that just gives me cause to pause because I don't know who you've tested it on. I don't know exactly the lengths of which um, you would study the effects on people of my pigmentation. Um, I don't think that it would be worth that much time and money for you. So again, for me personally, I just can't. I feel a certain type of way when we talk about, okay, are you going to get the vaccine? Well, there I don't see anything yet. Yes, there have been people that get the vaccine, but I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen what their effects are. I haven't seen what like over the course of time what it will do. So, do we want help? Yes, but what type of help is it? Are you giving me a fake hand, and then when I pull it, the whole arm comes off? So that's my take on it, Bishop.
Well, one of the things about it is, um, um, although they're saying we're coming up with a vaccine now, I don't think everyone really know that they've been working on this vaccine for years now. I know someone's going to say, well, the COVID just came out, but COVID is a derivative of a virus that we've already had in SARS-2. So this is really SARS-2 COVID-19. And so they've been working on this the SARS-2 vaccine for a while, and they've had the study done on that, and they've made those modifications to also implement the help as it relates to COVID-19. So I know it's new, and I know they're talking about it new, but they have been working on this for a while. And my other question is, and Pastor Lee, you're the youngest guy here, but you're still talking in those idioms of the African American community that has skepticism on vaccines and healthcare. Period.
I've
And
been black
it
a
seemed
long
like to
time,
me
Bishop.
you're too young to have that kind of skepticism.
I've been black a long time, Bishop. I ain't missed a day. I ain't missed a day. So the language, the idioms, the perspective, all of that comes with the African American. Yeah, I'm probably gonna come out testing positive of being African American. But I am not a skeptic. I'm not a skeptic in terms of science and um saying, well, we don't need science because we got the Lord. I'm not that naive, but I'm saying that um there I haven't seen any scientific long like of this particular incident. You say, and of course, I would believe it that this is a derivative of SARS-2, but we didn't call it SARS-2. We called it COVID-19. And they're not going to push a SARS-2 vaccine. They're going to push a COVID-19 vaccine. So the science says that this is something. However, if it's a derivative, it's still new. And that just gives me cause to pause because I know how much it has affected our our community. And uh, how do I'm going to phrase this? United States has had a fairest relationship with uh meritocracy, like the merit. Oh well, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do when it comes to our community. That's not been the case. So I'm it just gives me cause to pause on the efficacy of this vaccine, and how much it will affect us if we are first in line to take it.
Well, past the battle, it seems like to me that in our community we just can't get past um, some woes um, of some things that have happened prior to 2020, and we're about to go into 2021s, and it seems like those stereotypes are still on our shoulders and we can't get past it. And it sounded like for a second that Lee was really kind of hitting around one of those concepts that we have never forgiven America for, and that is the syphilis project that happened down in Alabama.
Tuskegee.
Yeah, the Tuskegee, and that project started in 1932 and went from 1932 to 1972, where they experimented on 399 black men, and then created another group after that, a test group of another 201 people, and where they were injecting the syphilis virus into us and trying to find a way to cure us, and they were killing our people off. And while it was 399 plus, well, it's what 600 people totally that we're talking about here. Um, those 600 people actually was part of a project that kind of eradicated that that virus from being a very dangerous virus in our communities. To now, you don't even hear about syphilis. Syphilis is like having a common cold. Um, but it's one of those things that we have never forgiven America for doing that. And prior to that, um, it's going to get heavy right now because they have castrated us with this concept of abortion. And they say that black people are the ones that are really doing abortion. And so that's the reason why they come against that whole pro life thing in the Democrat, because they believe that black people are the beneficiaries of abortion, when we all know that there's more abortions done on white people than any other persons in America. But what they're not telling us, and I guess I'm going to help with the issues here with with what's wrong in our community, is what they're not telling us is that black people looked um, for abortion to save themselves from consistent abuse from the slave owner. So they would look to abort that child, um, so that there would be no evidence that the slave master was sleeping with his slaves. And so abortion came into effect in our community because them slave owners were sleeping with our women and our young girls, getting them pregnant, and then society was not forgiven for them. We were still in a certain way, and they kept abusing us. And so we came up with a method to save to a degree, and it would go down in the bayou with Mama Dean, and she would find a way to abort that child, even though it was unsafe to do. Um, it was for the peace of that woman long term. Now, I don't believe in abortion in that right, but I do understand that the culture of an African American or an African is family centered, and we do not believe that our family should be separated in no wise. But we were forced to actually do that
To
through this time of slavery. Talk to me, Bishop. I mean, Elder Pastor.
Yeah, to piggyback, and you raised a couple of very interesting points. Piggyback on what was said also in terms of the vaccine and its apparent rush to market is that, to take this vaccine blindly, or to read the reports, and as you stated already, the numbers so far coming out of Pfizer and Moderna have been quite impressive in terms of their efficacy, the vaccine itself, in preventing transmission, and also stopping people obviously from being contagious, infected rather, with this virus. But they're asking us to put a great deal of faith in the pharmaceutical industry. And as was mentioned, we as Black folks have a long history of being guinea pigs for the system, as do not just Black people, but poor people, and basically anyone who's not a part of the elite. But having said all that, just to trust the pharmaceutical industry, there's been other cases where the FDA has approved certain drugs. It could be heart medication, blood pressure medication, pain medication, and it will be released to market, and then a year, 2 years later, they'll have to do a recall, because it turns out that these drugs have certain side effects that were unforeseen when they first came to market. And so, we are watching the news daily, and it seems as though daily they're telling us more about this virus, and figuring out more and discovering more about COVID, whether or not, how long it lives on surfaces, transmission, airborne, so on and so forth. It seems as though they don't truly understand, and they're still learning about the virus itself. And so, one of the questions that comes to my mind, at least, is that if we are still studying the virus, how can we be so certain that this vaccine is going to be effective with the virus? I read today that I believe it's in London, that a new mutation of the virus has been detected. Well, they're saying that this vaccine that is currently being released is also going to be effective for this new mutation. Well, how do you know if this same vaccine is going to be effective on an untested mutation of COVID? And so the amount of faith that they're asking not only just Black folks, but all Americans to put in this vaccine seems to be staggering. And so it almost seems as though to question the safety of this vaccine is somehow frowned upon, when I think that it's our obligation to question what we are injecting into our bodies, and could potentially be harming our bodies in the good faith attempt to protect us against this virus.
Well, I think my good friend Coach Collins brings up a good point, and while we're concerned about what we're injecting, he makes the point that 1,000 Black people have died from COVID. We are 3 times more likely to get the virus. Since September the 30th, we've had since September, we've had 30,000 Black people that have died from COVID. So, I mean, and this number is going up since then. And so, if we are 3 times more likely to die or to get this virus, then it seems like to me, even though we are concerned about the impacts of other things, but it seems like to me that we should also try to do something to mitigate these types of impacts in our community. Now, I'm going to roll this over into church.
Let me say this. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Pastor Battle.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, and that's you raise a excellent point in terms of, and I don't know who made the comment. I think Deacon, whoever the deacon was, raised an excellent point. That we are certainly as Black folks, we have been hit hard in terms of our death rate and infection rate with this virus, and our death rate, and as in all of the bad statistics, incarceration. I mean, we bear the brunt of whatever's happening in America. It seems as though we get the worst of it. Um, a lot of our death rate, though, is caused by when we do get the virus, the health care we receive is not the same as the health care that other people receive. And so, a lot of that, a lot of those numbers are caused by either the lack of care once we get infected in the virus, or some of our pre-existing conditions can be traced back to a lack of adequate health care. And so I think the problem with our death rate, even as it relates to COVID, is much bigger than COVID, and it suggests a systemic problem in terms of how we as Black people are treated in the healthcare industry, the pharmaceutical industry. Which brings us back to the point: how much do we really trust a healthcare and pharmaceutical industry that has systemically not treated us as equals? When a Black person presents him or herself to the ER with some type of issue that pain medication is required, there's been documented cases that say that nurses and doctors are more reluctant to prescribe us pain medication on the grounds that we're somehow, they're seeking drugs to get high with. And so it is just, there's so much going on with the healthcare industry, pharmaceutical industry, that I think the skepticism that you see coming from the Black community is our chickens coming home to roost. And they, in order to get us to take this vaccine, there's going to have to be a lot of public relations to the Black community, so that we can truly trust this vaccine.
Okay, so now, if let me ask you this: if the vaccine was produced by someone of color, would you trust them? Because I'm going to present to you.
Well, I mean,
Dr.
yeah.
They call her Kizzy Corbett, Dr. Kizzy Corbett, who is the lead discoverer of the vaccine, and she is a Black woman. Now, a couple of things with understanding with that. Not only is she a Black woman, Black women represent less than 2% of the physicians in America. So it seems to me that this Black woman would have a lot of pressure on her to produce something that would work, and not just because it's COVID-19, but because she is Black and she represents 2% of the people that they would considerably think that will be able to get this done in this area. Matter of fact, when we talk about who's giving us the information on this virus, we go to Dr. Fauci, a white man, right? So you got a Black woman who produces a vaccine and a cure for everybody to take. I mean, Black woman. I mean, black woman. Chocolate Black woman. No denying. And she looks Black since her birth. That makes a vaccine, but yet Black people won't trust the vaccine because of the government. I'm still scratching my head on that. It seems like to me, because she understands how it's been impacting her own people, that she would have a greater invested interest to make sure it works for them.
I think that we all think that, um, and I believe that that is the public sentiment that is the goal with putting her as the face of this vaccine. Um, honestly, uh, the fact that she is, an African American woman, kudos to her because again, African American women, we've been talking about this pretty much everywhere. They've been balling out on pretty much all of the academic fields. So the fact I'm not surprised that she is in that prominent a position, but appointing her as the lead to synthesize a vaccine is doing exactly that, trying to buy the public trust of African Americans.
Wow. Wait a minute now. You're saying that they are creating a minstrel show in the science area by parading this black woman out in front of us to gain our trust.
Okay, okay, all right.
That's what you just said.
Let me ask a couple questions. Okay. So in fighting, what was the last was it the bird flu, or it was something during Obama's administration, the H1N1 virus. Um, who was the lead on that one?
I would say that Jesus was the lead.
Jesus, no. We're not gonna go there. Jesus
Come
was
on. Hey, Pastor Battle, I need you to go with me on.
no.
on
He's
Jesus
not
is the
going.
lead.
I asked you the question.
Well, I'm just sitting back listening,
No.
choosing whose wagon
I
I'm
asked
jumping
you the
on.
question. When you parade it, and maybe parade is too strong a term, but I think that's what it is now. When you parade someone to the front of something to be the face of it, you have an agenda. You have an agenda of, okay, why are they the lead? Why are they pushing this forward? I believe that in my heart of hearts, they are working their best to synthesize a suitable vaccine for everybody. I do believe that she is doing that as well. But they put her against science itself because you don't have time on your side. We're in this pandemic, and every day that passes, more people die. And then so now you're rushing to get this vaccine in order to save some lives, but like with rushing, you're going to sacrifice lives. You're going to sacrifice probably as many as you save because the expedience of this vaccine causes you to miss things. Causes you to miss, like, how much testing are you doing? How much time do you have to run the data over and over again so that you know for without a shadow of a doubt that this is actually going to be beneficial and not detrimental to the community as a whole.
But we
So
don't have that kind of time. People are dying now.
exactly, and that's why putting her in front of this task force of this synthesizing the vaccine is disingenuous. It's disingenuous because
No, and
it's not
I,
her fault that we're in this pandemic, but it's going to be her fault when the vaccine keeps getting pushed down the road and more people die.
I don't know.
I probably shouldn't even got into those conversations. Y'all continue because my rank ain't that heavy no more. So this is
no,
I
that
don't
you,
know.
hey,
I just
you
don't know.
raised
I
some good
mean, now,
points.
when
And
black people have achievement and they do things, now they're being put into a minstrel show and it means nothing. I mean, my God. I mean, it's like
I don't.
we can't do nothing and just celebrate it for our accomplishment without feeling like that we are the white man's patsy to get something else done. Can we just take things for face value for what it is?
I'm butting my lip, Pastor. I'm butting my lip.
No, can we not do that? I mean,
I don't think it's a minstrel show. And the doctor, the researcher that came up with this vaccine. I mean, she gets, I mean, all credit for her being a very intelligent, capable sister who was able to, rise to the ranks. And basically, if this thing works, really benefit all Americans. However, and the fact that she's an African American woman, I'm not suggesting that she would purposely try to, or even allow a vaccine that is harmful to be given to anybody. I mean, she seems like nobody to be very conscientious. However, there's a limit to human knowledge, and I think what I'm saying is that even though she has, especially Black people, we would think our best interest in mind. It's hard to say what will happen as things persist as vaccine is rolled out, which I don't know, even as intelligent as she is, her ability to anticipate all the potential problems with this vaccine. I mean, if Malcolm X had produced his vaccine, I'd have the same questions because, even though you may be strongly tied to the Black community, there's a limit to knowledge that, you know, can you say a year from now what harm this vaccine may cause? And I don't think it's a color thing for me. I just think it's a thing that, you know, the limits of human knowledge, limits of our ability to say for certain that, this vaccine is going to be 95% effective without some serious, side effects. And I think most Black folks are taking a wait and see approach. We're not closed off to the vaccine, but by the same token, I'm not going to be first in line to get it.
So what are we saying about our churches? I mean, so we're good with not being truly able to open up our churches and really serve people holistically by touching them and engaging in them, loving on them and hugging on them, because we don't want to be first in line to take a vaccine that could potentially help us. I mean, what I mean, what
So
about what about these, what about people that go to Disney World that want to go to Disney World. They want to go to Disney World and can't go to Disney World because they ain't got the vaccine. Come on. What are we saying here?
if you
I mean, that's a good point. I wish this COVID stuff would be long gone because you make an excellent point. It's truly affecting, I mean, just worship, church. If this vaccine is something that allows that to take place, then I'm all for it. But I guess my thing is we've waited about a year. We're coming up on a year anniversary for COVID, and if we wait another 2 or 3 months to see how effective this thing is, then I think we'll be okay. But I'm with you, and I do understand what you're saying, Bishop, in terms of, this thing seems like progress, and it seems as though it will help us get to that place where we can, open back up and things of that nature. So, there's certainly something to be said for these good points that you raise.
Well, it's amazing, right? As again, African American community, it's just amazing the stuff that we have to go through and the mind juggling acts that we have to go through. Now, we have I see Maria saying, hey, I just go with my mask. I can remember a time that we couldn't wear a mask as Black folk in public places because they thought we was there to rob them. Matter of fact, we couldn't even wear hoodies. Trayvon Martin got shot because he had a Black hoodie on. I mean, but now we saying we can wear not only a hoodie, but a mask and a hoodie. Now that's dangerous for us. Y'all know that. I mean, and so we don't want the vaccine to be free of all of these other stereotypes that makes us unsafe in society, and we much rather take the risk of with the mask and everything else, and not have the 98% or 99% effectiveness with a vaccine.
Again, Bishop, I think you're gonna have to pick your battles on this one because either we're gonna look at it from the lens of Black white, or we're not. Now, if we don't look at it from the lens of Black white, and we just say that this is a vaccine that has come out that has come out within the last year, that is just now rolling out. How comfortable are you with the vaccine that we have created? Without Black white, I think people can make their own decisions. But then once you put the lens of race in there, well, then that adds a layer of ambiguity to the decisions because, again, we we need the vaccine the most, but we don't we don't live in a world where we get what we need a lot of the times. So to say that world, this is a brave new world just now today in 2020, some people are set in their mentalities, and some people are willing to accept this brave new world. We just have you got to pick your battles on that one. Are
But
we going to look through the lens?
when do we truly trust in the Lord and lean not to our own understanding and acknowledge him and he will direct? When do we really do that? Because
Okay.
he may be directing some people, they need to take the vaccine. He told the guy, right? After I spit in your eye, you need to go down to the water and wash and dip yourself in order for your healing to come. I'm lost how we can use the Bible in some areas and not use it holistically across the board, because we understand medicine biblically was a way that God used to heal people, and understand any medicine that works is a God-given cure, because man itself, Pastor Battle, you just said, don't have the knowledge to do it of themselves. It's got to be a God-given thing.
Are you suggesting that people's whose decision it is to not take the vaccine would be antithetical or oppositional to the will of God?
No, I didn't say that.
Is that what? Okay, so what are you saying, Bishop?
No, what I'm saying is, when do we fully walk out our faith in the Bible and not just pick out what is convenient for us and use the whole thing? That's what I'm saying.
I think that this and that's a good question you raise. I think that this vaccine falls under the rubric of wisdom in terms of judging whether or not it's going to be as good as they say. Now, obviously, if God comes down and he says that he has blessed this vaccine, take it, it is coming from the wisdom of heaven, and that settles the debate, and if God leads certain people to take this vaccine, then you're absolutely right that it's an act of faith and trust in God, because God certainly can work through medicine. He can heal through medicine. He can heal through doctors. He can heal through, vaccines. And so, all of that is certainly correct. I think until that time comes where there's an overall consensus that, this thing is good, safe, it is God sent, it's going to do not only what they said it's going to do, but do it and not produce other side effects, then that's when because, as a pastor, I would hate to rush my congregation into taking this, and then, 2-3 months down the road, it produces horrible side effects, and people are suffering from, conditions caused by this vaccine, and I've somehow hurt the congregation. And so, it's a tough decision to make. But I guess my take is a kind of wait and see. Let's give it a few months. Let's see how it does. Let's see if it is as effective as they say. And if it isn't, then let's go for it.
Pastor Battle, you have a member that comes to you and says, I'm about to die, but the doctor told me if I don't take this COVID-19, no, he says, if I do take this COVID-19 vaccine, it will cure and take this away. And the COVID vaccine just got released. Do you encourage them to take the vaccine?
Well, I, as much as possible, refrain from giving those types of medical bits of advice, because, in today's society, it's very dangerous for a pastor to tell people what to do medically with their body, because if something happens bad, then of course we can be sued because of that.
But I need to hear from you,
but,
Pastor.
having said that,
I need to hear from you.
I'm sorry, I would say.
I need to hear from you. I hear
Well,
what you're saying.
I would say that's something that's something that
is dying.
Well, I mean,
and they need to hear from their pastor.
Well, that's something that they will have to. That's something that will have to be sought in prayer. But here's the thing, though. If somebody is saying that, you raise the issue of trust in God,
Mm-hmm.
and if God is able to heal this person, raise them up, then it's not, I don't think it's going to come down to if they don't take this vaccine, then God's just going to let them die. versus if they take it, then God's going to let them live without going through this phase of waiting to see whether or not it is appropriate. Now, I would certainly, I'm not one of those. None of us are. Don't go to the doctor. Don't get a blood transfusion. Don't do this. Just sit and wait for God to heal you as you die of cancer and without chemo or anything like that. And so I certainly believe in the value of medicine and science and all of that stuff. It's just going back to the beginning of this conversation. This vaccine, it's not just the Black community. A lot of folks have a lot of questions about the efficacy of this vaccine and whether or not it will produce side effects that outweigh even the harm of COVID. And so I would not stop someone from rushing out to take it, but I certainly wouldn't stand before the congregation and say, you all need to take this. And I know personally, I'm not going to be the first in line to take it.
Deacon Jones, the vaccine is not designed to cure from COVID. It is designed to give you the antibodies to fight off COVID if it's present, or mitigate the effects of COVID if you have enough viral load where it stays in your body. So this is not really, no one is saying that the vaccine is a cure from COVID. No one is saying that even after you get the vaccine that you will not be able to catch COVID. It's just like the flu shot. They don't say that after you get a flu shot that you won't get the flu. What they're suggesting to you is that those underlying issues that people may have becomes mitigated at the point that you take the vaccine. That's all it's saying. So how does the church serve people that are not coming back into the building? Now, here's a couple of things I need to say about this, because I think we don't really understand what the church is. The church is not an individual. The church is the gathering of the saint. And the gathering of the saint don't have to be in a building. But when they said the church gathered together, in some way there was this gathering together, sharing of the word, sharing of testimony to continue to build faith one towards another. That's the reason why the text says in Revelations that they were overcome by the blood of the Lord, or the blood of the Lamb, and the words of their testimony, because the church gathered. And one of the things that we are missing in this time, what COVID is doing, is stopping the church from gathering. And I know we have this virtual thing going on, but it still misses the touch component that encourages one another to move on. And the churches right now, I know we have Bible class, we have prayer, everything that we offer in building, we offer online. But it still misses the component of the gathering. Matter of fact, the gathering is so important that when he comes, Paul specifically writes about the gathering of the church. And that has been the consistent thing that makes us church, is the gathering together and bringing the church one faith together to share in their testimonies of what God is doing. So now you have to understand the enemy's attack in this, through this COVID presence, is to break and split the church up where we don't come together. That's the reason why I place this argument, because the core of the church is not so much gathering in a building, but gathering, period, so that we can continue to see the works of God in the eyes of other believers. And so that's the real attack on the church, not coming to the church building. Coming to a specific address makes it convenient for us, because you remember in Acts, the Bible said they went house to house. So, and now, we can't even do with the COVID thing. We ain't letting people in our houses. So the attack on the church is at its fundamental core, and the believer and the saint is missing it, because we think it's all about coming to a building. It is not. It's about the gathering of the saint, because that is the thing that God is going to do at the end of the day. I'm coming for a church without what? Spot or wrinkle. He's not coming for individuals. He's coming from a church, which means that's the gathering of the people that makes up his church. He's coming from one church that has many members, and it's only the church because of the gathering. And then we miss that as we talk about church. Virtual makes it convenient, but just because we virtually online don't mean that we represent the core fundamental idea of church. And that's what I'm speaking to, because that's where I see the attack at on the church. You know, yes, we can make sure that you have implements for communion. We've done drive-through communion. Yes, we can make sure you do anything, because again, we believe that the church is the one that passes out the sacrament of the Lord. And we don't necessarily believe that just because you go into your store and get grape juice and get some crackers and you do it at home, that is the sacrament of the Lord. We believe that is handed out by the priest of the church and handled by the priest of the church. So we try to make those things available to everybody, and we work hard to try to do that. But we're only church when we gather. We're not church staying at home. We're not church doing it as individuals. Remember, he talks about there's one body with what? Many members. That's the church. And so that's the attack that believers got to see that the enemy is putting on us. And we have to get past this concept of just coming into a building. The attack is on the church being able to gather. And the virtual gathering does not make up for the social impact that God wants us to have with one another, with the ability to touch. Watch this now. Christ walking down the street, and he asked a simple question: who touched me? That is the importance of the church, for us to be able to touch one another. That's the importance. So that's the reason why I'm asking about the vaccine. If the vaccine helps us to be able to gather, should we not consider it and not throw it away? Is our faith, does our faith not allow us to walk blindly in things that we don't fully understand? Is that not real faith when we really don't understand? Or do we have to wait to get all the data in to trust it first? All right, preachers, y'all quiet.
You was talking.
Well, you know, I was listening to the sermon. That was a good message you preached. I may take that and cut and paste that, put it on our website. But no, you raised that. I could not agree with you more in terms of your passionate stance on gathering. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. What you have said, you know, needs to be broadcast all over the world, and certainly, you know, it's so refreshing to hear a bishop, a preacher, man of God, to just highlight the importance of gathering and continuing to gather. The House of Deliverance, one of the things that is I'm very fortunate about is that, you know, all through this pandemic, we never stopped gathering. We had Sunday morning service, we had Wednesday night Bible class, you know, throughout this pandemic. And it certainly was a very, it was a test of faith, because it you know, all of the press, especially early on, was, you know, and it still is quite alarming and scary, to be quite honest. But going back to what you said, the reason we stayed open goes exactly to the scripture in Acts, which talks about not forsaking together the assembly, and even the scripture, you know, what we see in the early church with Paul and Peter and going house to house, and they were threatened under the penalty of death. Not to, you know, obviously it wasn't a virus in that case, it was persecution, but yet they continued to meet. And I can't find any place in Scripture where any social, political, societal event takes the mandate to come together as a church and worship God and takes that off the table. I think that we are a church that was birthed out of uh, persecution, danger, and we met. Even going, much, much later to the civil rights movement. Churches were bombed, people were killed, but yet they continued to have church. Even the invisible church on plantations during slavery days, where they met, after hours and had church. I mean, we as Holy Ghost filled apostolic believers have met under very dire consequences. But as you said so eloquently a few minutes ago, Bishop, that's something that you cannot recreate the gathering simply by every person being an island unto themselves. I couldn't agree more than with what you said. I think it's right on target.
I think I think what you said, Bishop, is very, very important. Um, I also think that this might just be because of my heredity to you. Um, I never thought of the church. I never thought the church in this time was truly under. Yes, it's under attack, but it's not in danger because of the mandate that Christ has given us. Like I truly believe that if services are the only thing that the church offers, then we're really not doing anything. Um, so the gathering is more socially to for the encouragement of the believers together and to to give you you said to touch one another. I think that's so important. Like there's a ministry of presence that we don't see if we're just watching it on our YouTube or watching on our Facebook. um, but also I think that the responsibility is on us as a church, and then more specifically church leadership, um, to make sure that that gathering always serves a utility towards the people in which that they are responsible for. um, I truly believe that um, the reason that people can sit at home so easily is because they truly never got the utility of coming together to worship. Um, and that's a tragedy. That's a tragedy because there are so many there's so many blessings and benefits that come from that, yet it's forgotten and it's looked over. Um, and I think that we have to do as good a job as we can to always present the utility and always keep raising the bar of utility. Like it should be continually better for you to come to church. Like being at church should be an experience. It should
Yeah.
be where you come and you expect to meet God, and not just where you come to meet God, but also the expectation of the people around you elevate your level of anticipation. I think that that is where a lot of our church leadership, a lot of our church membership, a lot of churches, period, have truly gotten away from that anticipation. And the anticipation is really um, what drives the atmosphere once you do come to church. Um, because if you're not expecting, I think Bishop was teaching on Advent yesterday. He talked about the preparation of, well, in our case, of the Lord to come. And he said something. He said that unbelievers should be. Hold on, I want to get. I don't. I want to quote you right, Bishop. I want to quote you right. I
Quote
don't
it
want you
right,
coming. I don't
because I
want.
don't
I
know
don't
what I
want.
said.
I'm gonna quote you right. I think you said that unbelievers should be blessed by our preparation. And I believe that's so key in this conversation because I saw how we had to prepare to open our doors again in the middle of this pandemic. that preparation in terms of our mentality has to change, our procedures have to change, the time in which we come has to change. Instead of one service, now we're coming at 2, and I got to wake up at 6 in the morning now, and I gotta do all these things, and the preparation change. But I believe that there was a blessing in that change, because um it wasn't that we were just opening up and we were just going to do the same thing. Like, we're just going to, oh, it's church, we're just going to do the same thing. No, that there was an actual anticipation to it. And okay, we're doing things differently. Why? We want to do safe. We want to be wise. We want to be good stewards. But we also expect Christ to meet us at 40:15. We also expect that, like, when we gather, that there's going to be a release of praise that we were not able to do in our living rooms. So I believe, Bishop, the voice that you have is so key, and I think that we can expand. We could talk about it forever, but we ain't got the time. But we can talk about it forever in terms of the church building an anticipation for the gathering, building an expectation of the presence of God to dwell in the midst of the gathering. By our preparation, like I think that that's so key in your stance, Bishop.
And Faye, you asked a great question. Is it going to be mandated for ministry to take the vaccine? I know there are some ministries that will probably mandate their people to take it. Here's my thought on it personally, because I haven't had a staff meeting or anything to talk about it, so I don't want to give a policy statement. But for me, I'm going to do whatever I need to do that allows me to come in your presence safely, because I need to be able to get to you at any time, any moment. And I don't want anything to hinder me from being a pastor to the flock. I want you to know that I'm safe in your presence, and I want I need to know that I'm safe in your presence. So I'm going to do everything possible. Here at Lively Stone, from a staff perspective, I was asking my staff every time we did a COVID test. And matter of fact, in January, I believe they're going to put out a test that you can take home with you to test yourself. And it is, I think they said, about 95% accurate in finding COVID. And so if you have it, you will test, it will show up, which I think is important, that if we can have a test in our homes to know whether or not we have COVID or not, and we test regularly, that's what it's going to take, because it's important for me to make sure that I'm responsible when you come up on me on Sundays and when you come up, and when I come in your presence. If you call me and I have to go to the hospital, I need to be able to get into that hospital. I don't need anything to stop me from getting into the hospital. Right now, if someone goes into the hospital, it's very hard for us to get in if you're not family. So for me, and this is just for me, I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that I can get to you and be available to you at all times. Because one of the things I like to do when I see you, I like to hug you. And that's just me. And, the fist bumps, okay, great, fine. But I like handshaking. I like hugging. And if I can do something to help make that a safer place for you, then that's what I want to do. So at this point, I have not mandated, and we have not have that conversation here at Lively Stone. It's something we'll talk further about. And we could stay on this. We only got a few more minutes. We're going to get off. But Pastor Battle, I don't know if you've seen it, but we're in review time of our church insurance. And the questionnaire that they sent us had a lot to do with two things. COVID, and intrusion security. So it's amazing to me how our insurance are telling us that if we don't do the necessary things as a church administration, they will not insure us. So I know we're talking about this from the culture and society, but there's a church business side of it too. That if we don't have certain things in place, policies in place, you can't get your insurance renewed at all. They will drop you your church insurance. Now, what says you?
Well, as far as the vaccine, and if and when we reach the point where the U.S. government is mandating the vaccine, then of course that will be a question that each pastor, each school, each family will have to struggle with whether or not to go ahead and accept the vaccine. But I think largely we all will be okay, because by the time there's enough doses to get to me or you, then there'll be the time to gauge whether or not it has been successful anyway. And so, the whether we want it today or not today, none of us can get it today, because it has to go through obviously the frontline workers. And so I think largely this situation will resolve itself, because by the time the vaccine shows up at Walmart or CVS or Walgreens for either me or you to sit down and take it, then we should know whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. And if it's a good thing, then let's do it. If it's a bad thing, then that same sister you put up on the screen needs to go back to the lab and come out with something a little bit better.
Well, Pastor, I think I may know some people. I got some people. I don't doubt that. I can get you to the front of the line.
Hey, just as long as it's not bootleg. I don't want a bootleg vaccine. I want the real thing. Well, okay. All right.
I can get you to the front of the line. I can get you.
Sounds good, man. As long as you step in front of me, though.
Hey, man. Hey, everybody. It has been great. This conversation is great. Everybody online, Elder Elkins, Deshae, Stacy, Faye, everybody that's been talking to us. I saw Elder Aaron on with us. I saw some House of Deliverance people with us. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Listen, I do want to say this. This conversation is not to just say what you should or shouldn't do. It's just a conversation to put something on your mind in terms of just challenge some things on your mind. I'm not trying to tell you to take it. I'm not trying to tell you not to take it. I do believe that we need to seek the Lord and make sure that God is directing us, and he will, for the Holy Ghost come to lead and guide us into all truth. Pastor Battle, Pastor Lee, thank you for being with us. This has been Scott's commentary. This is just my commentary. It's not your commentary. So thank you for being with us. God bless you.
Thank you.